I'm Julie Saunders.
I'm Jan Wilson. Julie and I both have experience as school librarians, and we've worked together as district library leaders.
In each episode, we'll dive into our profession with interviews and meaningful content to inspire you.
The ideas and opinions shared by any host, guest, or listener are their own and do not represent those of any respective school district.
Welcome to Library Exchange. Does your library's reference section contain high-interest titles that draw kids in and produce large circulation numbers? If not, welcome to Abdo Reference. Abdo Reference includes 3 great imprints that will change how you think about reference and research materials.
Imagine your students checking out high-interest library-bound titles that serve their pleasure reading needs but also do the heavy lifting of instructional support. Abdo Reference is a K-12 solution that can help put your learning dollars to the greatest advantage. Check out Abdo Reference today at abdobooks.com. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully, you're enjoying the start of summer, and we're glad you're tuning in.
Our guest today is Amanda Hunt. You know her as the Next Gen librarian on social media. She's been an educator for 21 years, 16 of those as a librarian. After working in elementary and middle school libraries, she's moving to the high school level this fall.
Yeah, Amanda, do you remember what I call that?
No. What do you call that?
The school librarian trifecta.
The trifecta. Yeah.
Okay, back to the intro. Recently, she was named a 2026 Library Journal Mover and Shaker, and we're looking forward to our conversation with her today. Welcome to Library Exchange, Amanda.
I'm so excited to be here. You guys are awesome, and I've been listening for a long time, so this is a pleasure.
Oh, yay. So, Amanda, let's start by highlighting your work on the AASL, which stands for the American Association for School Librarians, standards, and the 6 shared foundations of inquire, include, collaborate, curate, explore, and engage. How long did you contribute to that project, and what was the goal?
I was so honored to be on that committee through AASL. We started the work in 2022, 2023, and it carried us almost 3 years. What we were doing is taking the first standards that released in 2018, and the standards did not change. And so a lot of people ask me, then why would we buy the second edition, right? We had a lot of different age levels that were contributing to it. We had about 8 people on our committee, and they were in all different levels of librarianship. And so it was really great to get all of our points of view. We did a lot of interviews, focus groups. We did a lot of polls and things like that to get feedback from librarians. And the main feedback we got was that the standards were a bit confusing. So our main goal was to make them more palatable. And so what we decided to do was kind of give them each I can statements, different age groups, right? So we have I can statements for K2, 3-5, 6-8, and 9-12. So we feel like that was a lot of great feedback. It made it real world, and it took these kind of abstract ideas of what school librarianship should be and brought it straight into the library with example lessons.
Great.
Yeah, great work on those. So, Amanda, as we mentioned in the intro, with your experience as a middle school librarian, we all know it's very common to hear how tricky collection development is for that level because you have those cute little 6th graders and then you have the adolescent 8th graders and everything in between. What are your strategies for selecting books for that range of readers?
It is very difficult, and I've said it since I moved up to middle school 10 years ago, because you're right. We have our little 11-year-old babies all the way up to our 14, sometimes 15-year-olds, and it's difficult, right? I feel like lately it's been even more difficult in our current climate of librarianship. And so besides reading a lot, I feel like that should be a librarian's number one goal or priority, is to be keeping up with the collection, what publishers are putting out, what the standard baseline is for middle grade, upper middle grade, lower YA, upper YA, all of that big range that we have. And so I have some really great friends that decided to do the Young Teen Lit. So if you haven't checked them out, please. They were also mover and shakers for 2026. So I love following all of their posts because they're exactly right. It is a gap in publishing. A lot of times I think publishers are targeting adults that are reading young adults, and that sometimes that can really skew our, reviews that we're having to look up when they do a blanket 14 and up, and it's more like 16 and up or potentially new adult. So using them as a guide is great, as well as all the reading that I do, but also our traditional review sources of School Library Journal, Book List, Kirkus reviews. We get into then going to the actual publishers' websites and looking at Mackin and Follett and all the different ones. And it does take a lot of time. And it's a side of librarianship that most people don't know that we do when we are curating our collection. So having access to reviews is so important, and making sure we do our due diligence, as well as just seeing like on social media, that's where I get a lot of, oh, that book just got a new cover. I need to check that out. I need to do multiple review sources and see what that's going to be. And our purchasing laws in Texas are a little different this year with Senate Bill 13, but it's something we really take seriously, and we want to curate a collection for our students that represent all walks of life.
Great. So, in the middle school years, in addition to how difficult it is for collection development, how important that is to have the right books for the right students, often you see that reading interest drop in those middle school years. So how do you keep them motivated to read? And, along with your previous statement about selection, it kind of goes hand in hand, but how do you keep students motivated to read?
It is difficult. I love my little sixth grade babies. They come to me. Thank you, elementary librarians and teachers, because they are still in that really wanting to read, stage of life. But once they get to seventh grade, then it's like they're doing all the sports and all the clubs, and, their life gets busy and chaotic and dramatic. And so the reading does tend to go down. And then with eighth grade, I tend to see a little bit of apathy just across the board. It's so funny though, because when they go to high school, then they get this renewed sense. I don't know. Thank you, Book Talk or Bookstagram, because they get a new renewed, and then they're messaging me, and I'm like, okay, why couldn't we be excited in middle school about these books? I love that for you. But yeah, so it is tricky. I try lots of things, especially with all of the movies that are being adapted from books. It's been really great to kind of play into that, lean into it, do, voting and polls and advertise. And I always do like March Madness brackets and all of those types of things. And that's great. This year, however, in January, a lot of the schools in the district that I worked at, we purchased Beanstack, and it really has been a game changer. If your district is thinking of like, should we do AR? Should we do Beanstack? Like, I highly recommend Beanstack. I think it really brings back the love of reading and just allowing students to read what they want to read and what they're passionate about without tying any state standards to it or an assignment to it. And so it's been really fun to introduce that to my kids. And I'm very competitive. So I'm about to post our stats on the socials this week, because it's amazing how much we read 850,000 words, like
great.
minutes in one semester. Just training my students to think about reading outside of the traditional having a book in front of you was also instrumental in that. I say it all the time, but they needed to hear it again and again, that audiobooks count as reading, graphic novels, if their parents still get the newspaper, if they read the news on their device, like that, it's reading. And when they read in social studies and they read in science, they're like, wait, I can count that? Like, that's reading? I'm like, yes. Like, and so having to retrain this, generation of what counts as reading was also big. And that was my number one goal with this, was to just get them reading again and paying attention to it and being intentional.
How many students do you have at your school?
We have just over 1,000.
Wow. So 850,000 minutes. Did I hear you correct?
Yes.
Wow, that is very impressive for just one semester. I'm very impressed. But
Yeah.
You've also mentioned social media and using that to encourage reading. What types of things do you put on social media?
Absolutely. So, social media is different depending on the platform. Most of our students spend time on Instagram, whereas the parents are on Facebook. And so you got to kind of tailor it to the audience. And so also have a TikTok. And so whenever I see a trend that's happening, I take it and I adapt it to the library. So anything that, is happening, if it's a dance, if it's a sound bite that's going viral, I will take it and make it applicable to like my students that are in the library and how they see me. And I tell them super cringe, but are you watching? Yep. So, I think you just got to lean into that. Social media is not for everyone. That is not something that should be globally used. Everyone has different communities and
Yeah.
and things like that. But I have found it to be really successful and fun. And as I said, I'm very competitive as well. So obviously those numbers not playing when it comes to wanting to win across the district. And we did. We beat, an elementary school that is, has more students than us and very
Wow.
active readers. So that was great. And to be able to partner with neighboring districts as well. We started going to like Beanstack trainings virtually so that we could kind of partner with another district because then we could take it into a bigger, outside the four walls of our school.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Advancing Technology, Designing Spaces. Niswonger AV is your comprehensive K-12 education partner. With 50 years of expertise, they deliver innovative technology and strategic furniture solutions that transform learning environments.
Why choose Niswonger AV? It starts with cutting-edge AV technology and intelligent furniture design. Their value extends far beyond the products. They use a consultant-driven approach backed by a family-owned commitment to excellence.
Advancing technology and learning spaces with old-fashioned personal service, because your library deserves more. For a free design, call Niswonger today at 770-338-0335. Well, in addition to that, I think you'd mentioned your teacher involvement too. And because, it takes a village to get the middle schoolers to be motivated to read, right?
100%, especially when we're talking about counting science minutes of reading their articles or, that kind of thing. I needed to have everybody on board. And so, yeah, teachers can track their minutes as well. And I would do top advisory classes, top reading classes, just top class in general, like those kinds of stats every week for like our parent newsletter, but also our staff newsletter. And then I would give like prizes out to the top teachers, the top 3 teachers, their favorite coffee drink on, their favorite candy snack, things like that. But then the top reader of the month, I would cover one of their classes just to kind of give them some time back, which is really important for teachers.
Wow, yes, that's a great incentive.
Yeah, it takes all of those stakeholders to have a culture of reading. So, Julie, if it's okay with you, can I ask a question?
You may
I don't
proceed.
I don't know if you guys have noticed that I've been raising my hand over here. It happens, Amanda. So, seriously, Amanda, I love this short article about you in the May issue of School Library Journal where you were asked, what advice would you give a new school librarian, which I want you to touch on, but also what advice are you giving yourself since you are starting at a new level in a new district?
One of my big things is to make sure that the library is the hub and the center of the campus. This is my last week at my current campus that has felt like a family for the last decade. And you want it to be really sad if that person leaves. And fortunately, we are all really sad. And so that's definitely a big part, but it really plays on the bigger role of the library being instrumental in all areas. A lot of people focus on the English language arts at the secondary level, and we're leaving out other groups. You work with your ELL department, you work with your dyslexia teachers, you work with the coaches, you work with all the core content and electives. And so put yourself in there to where you are instrumental. Go to PLC meetings, go to department chairs. How can I help you? How can the library help you? And that's going to be something that's going to be real important for me going to a high school that has probably been doing their thing and they're rocking and rolling and they didn't even know they needed an Amanda Hunt, but I'm about to show
That's
them.
right.
But I'm about to show them what we can do together.
Yeah, your first sentence and the answer was be the person on campus no one can imagine the school without. So that must be true for the school that you're leaving, which, we like to say it's not all about us or the librarian. It's about the programming and everything that you brought to that school. So thank you for that.
So I know that you probably use a lot of cool ed tech tools. What are your top tools that you use to encourage reading?
I use and a lot of times it's a double sword, right? Like I do lessons in the library that have to do with digital citizenship, AI, all of these things that are affecting our students' lives as they work on being good digital citizens. But then twofold, I want it to be fun and engaging. And so for me, I use Adobe Express a lot. It's free. It's something that is equitable because it's free and all of our students have access to it. And so you can get in and you're teaching generative AI in a responsible and ethical way because they're not using open AI and images without giving copyright or compensation. They are actually using the Adobe stock images that they have in house. So for me, yes, it's fun. They look so cute. I can make a hippo dance on a surfboard, like all of those things. It's fun. But now I can say, "Guys, why do we use Adobe Express?" They're like, "Because it's ethical." Like, they can, like, repeat it back to me because I say it all the time, and it's gonna protect our kids. It's not gonna let them search things they're not supposed to. So, I feel like it's a real great tool to use and real easy for our students to figure out too if you're ever feeling like, "Oh, I can't do one more app. I can't learn one more thing." They have how-to videos embedded for kids to kinda teach themselves as well, so
So, in your new district, do you know if they have the Beanstack subscription?
they do.
Great, great. So, I wonder how will you modify your program for high schoolers?
So I have to learn my kids first. Like I have to learn my student community and where the gaps are. I have to really get into my collection and see what has been popular. I know that one of the reasons I think I was brought in was to increase circulation and excitement around reading. And I can do it. I got to do the work behind it first. And I feel like once you know your kids, you know their needs, you know that their interests, like you can start to curate those resources for them. And then, at high school, we tend to be competitive from what I remember when I was in high school. So like I'm down and we're gonna compete against the other high schools. I've already messaged some of their librarians saying like, let's do it. So I'm really excited to see what can come from that and just again creating that culture of reading just across the campus as like a goal. I also kind of thought if they do the graduation chords, like if you hit, so many words or so many minutes in Beanstalk, they could get, one of the chords or something like that. So just kind of learning the high school life and what they'll let me do is going to be first.
Yeah, I love that you're wanting to listen and learn and not just go in and take what you already know and just apply it.
Yeah,
It's
no.
important to customize where your new location is, right?
Absolutely.
So I assume the library is open before the school day begins.
Yes.
So those are going to be the students you can kind of start forming connections with, and they'll have some ideas for you too.
Yes. I love taking student feedback.
Amanda, for our audience members who want to keep up with you, what's the best way?
I am the next gen librarian across all social media platforms.
So, Amanda, we could talk shop with you all day. Thank you so much for joining us today. And you're definitely putting the next gen in librarianship.
I love that.
Julie, we've exchanged ideas. It's time for our recap. I'll start with this. We really love talking to school librarians because they always remind us of resources. And Amanda mentioned the Young Teen Lit Librarians, so I wanted to give them a shout out as a great resource. Both are middle school librarians. Christina is in Michigan and Marcy's in Georgia, and they curate collections for ages 12 through 15, and you can find them at youngteenlit.com.
Yay. Thank you for sharing that tip.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest takeaways from this episode that I took away was Amanda's approach to collection development. Sure, we all have our favorite trusted review sources, but Amanda reminds us how crucial it is to cross check those go tos with other popular review sites. The real magic here is balancing all of that with how well you know your own student population.
Yes, the amount of time it takes to curate a collection is a side of librarianship that most people don't think about, or they don't even realize that we do it.
It's true.
And I want to go back to what you just mentioned. She discussed professional reviews for selection. And so she mentioned the importance of reading reviews from School Library Journal, Book List, Kirkus Reviews. And I'm glad she called out those big three because they are written for librarians and educators, specifically for collection development. Common Sense Media is not a primary selection tool for books. And I just wanted to remind, I'm on my pedestal about that a little bit. It's not a selection tool.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. So can we talk about her school's reading minutes?
Oh my goodness.
Right? So for her enrollment numbers, the stats are absolutely wild. And Beanstack has clearly been a massive game changer there.
Yes. It's healthy competition. And when you have teachers beyond the English language arts teachers who help to reinforce reading in their classrooms, that is so motivating. So she talks about, when students were reading an article in Science and the teacher reminded them, hey, this counts towards your minutes in Beanstack, that just reinforces the message to students. I am reading during the school day, and it's not a physical book in front where they have to turn the pages, and audiobooks count too.
Absolutely. Breaking down those adult biases about what real reading looks like is so important for encouraging reading with students.
Yes.
So looking ahead to next year, Amanda's moving to a new school level and her mindset is spot on. Instead of just copy pasting her old programs because they're familiar, she will focus on listening, learning, and building relationships first.
Yes. Julie, there's still a learning curve when you're an experienced librarian moving to a new school. You need to learn about your students, your staff, the community. Oh, I'm making this a lot on her plate. You got to familiarize yourself with the collection and just watch how students use the space. She has great ideas for creating a culture of reading, but at the same time, she reminds us that it's just as important to sometimes sit back and be a sponge.
Absolutely.
Also, remember, it's important to find those teacher influencers, those ones that you can partner with who will then share with other teachers and even share with the principal. This was a great episode. I think you'll agree, Julie.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Amanda meets her students where they are, whether she's revving up a school-wide competition or grabbing the latest social media trends. All of it shows the reach and impact of our profession.
It sure does.
Yeah. So follow her at the Next Gen Librarian. And Julie, we'll be seeing her next week at the Georgia School Librarian Conference.
That's right. We can't wait.
And if we're not seeing you, we'll miss you until our next episode on June 15th. Bye.
Bye. Georgia Specialty Equipment is proud to support the Library Exchange podcast. Whether you're outfitting your library with brand new furniture or looking to create a more comfortable learning space, GSE has the products to make it happen.
From custom shelving to creative seating, they specialize in equipment that enhances school environments. With GSE in your corner, your library can be better than ever.
Visit gsequip.com or call 770-461-2090. And don't forget to follow them on Facebook and Instagram for the latest updates. Make sure to visit our website at www.libraryexchangepodcast.com.
You'll find episode notes and links. You can even submit your questions or inspiring stories that may be featured on the podcast.
If you're looking for some swag for your library or book-loving friends, visit libraryexchange.etsy.com.
That's a lot of URLs, so I'm glad you had to say all of that, Julie.
Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode of Library Exchange.